So President Trump has scored yet another blow against the ACA. Now, this time, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services on Tuesday announced massive cuts to a certain portion of the ACA's funding. This funding, of course, has to go with outreach. Now, the cut, explains the Huffington Post, will affect navigators. Now, the navigators are nonprofit organizations that federal government pays to help with enrollment in states that use healthcare.gov as their online marketplace for people trying to get insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Now, the cuts are around $27 million from last year. That's just how much they're cutting. Now, last year, they had cut their budget. They had cut their budget again last year, down to $37 million for 2018, and that is actually cut down from $63 million in 2017. So now they have about $10 million left in their budget in order to do basically their job. Now, the Trump administration has also made similarly sharp reductions in funds earmarked for advertising and promoting health insurance enrollment. Now, what's the impact? Well, it has been devastating. Last year's cut forced navigators to lay off certain staff members, cancel events, and in some cases, completely cease operations. They have closed up shop. So, more of these massive cuts. Now, of course, CMS, the head of CMS says, oh, no, it's not a problem. Here's the thing. We're just cutting it so that we can streamline operations. No, you're cutting it so that people won't know about it and that people actually won't get helped in order to get insurance from the marketplace, so they give up on the marketplace and go buy private insurance plans off the marketplace. Those private insurance plans don't get federal subsidies. Federal subsidies, of course, saves the Trump administration money, to which then they can shower on their wealthy donors. That's what's going on here. Now, the new cut will leave navigators with just a fraction of the money they had available for the open enrollment periods that occurred during President Barack Obama's administration, in all likelihood hampering their ability to help consumers through the complicated process of choosing a health insurance policy and applying for financial assistance. Again, that's what they want to avoid. Ooh, we don't want to help people. We don't want to help people pay for their insurance. No. You guys can rot. We don't care at all. That costs us money. Now, look, I've had a lot of criticisms of the ACA, and I'm going to get into more in a few minutes, but one of the good things about it is that it was actually a really good progressive taxation system. So they raised taxes on the richest people, and they distributed it through subsidies to people who are middle class and poor to try to get health insurance. Now, the savings for the new cut, and they, of course, claim that, hey, we're just doing this so we can save money, right? It actually accounts for less than 0.5% of what the federal government is expected to spend to subsidize private coverage and Medicaid next year. No, we're trying to save all this money, except that we're really not spending all that money, much money on navigators to help people get private insurance. No, we're doing it to make the ACA incredibly difficult, time-consuming, and hard in order to make it so that people don't use it. We don't want people to use healthcare.gov, so then we can get rid of it. And we can finally fulfill the promise of getting rid of Obamacare. Now, that's not the only change CMS has announced as well. Going forward, it will also encourage navigators to educate consumers about skimpier alternatives to traditional insurance, including short-term, limited-duration plans that frequently leave out basic benefits, such as prescription drugs, and are unavailable to people with pre-existing conditions. So here comes non-insurance insurance junk plans. But what's the point of having insurance that doesn't actually do anything? Oh, right, it helps insurance companies. Because when these companies sell these plans as being cheap, people don't look into the fine print, and they think, oh, what's the problem? I got insurance. I'll be fine. But I only pay like $50 a month. I mean, it's skimpy and somewhat, but it must cover something. And then they find out, whether through an accident or they get sick, that it covers absolutely nothing. And that it's basically worthless. It's worthless junk insurance. And now these navigators are being required to tell people about junk insurance plans. Are you winning yet? Do you feel like you're winning yet? CMS also is expected to publish a regulation that would permit consumers to carry these junk insurance plans for longer than a couple of months, up to a full year. So, look, these terrible insurance plans, right? These junk insurance plans are, you can only have them for about 3 months. So they're very short term. Now you can carry these junk insurance plans for even longer. Now that means the plans will be competing for business more directly with the more comprehensive insurance listed on the exchanges. And look, even the comprehensive plans have a lot of problems. High deductibles, high copays, and high premiums. Nonetheless, these insurance plans are actually worse than that. Disaster. Now, Lori Lodes, former CMS official from the Obama administration and founder of the organization Get Covered America, said, quote, requiring navigators to sell junk plans is the same as requiring doctors to offer snake oil. The whole notion is outrageous. And again, only helps insurance companies. We are slowly going back what little tiny amount of progress we had in the ACA. But that, of course, is a point. Republicans don't want people to be able to be helped by government in order to buy insurance. Basically, their plan is, hey, if you can afford insurance, pay an exorbitant amount. If you can't afford insurance, die. And die quickly. Or don't get sick. Now, look, the ACA, as I just mentioned, a little bit of progress, but it is based on a failed concept, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. It has helped people get health insurance. Some people get health insurance, and it has helped them get health care. And in fact, the thing that the ACA got the most right was expanding Medicaid. And look, they should have expanded it more. In fact, look, me, I would have went for a Medicare for all system. But look, what they did right in Medicaid, they also kind of fucked up as well because it didn't go as far as planned. And we had a court decision, thanks to the Supreme Court. We weren't able to expand Medicaid to all states. It had to be optional. But anyway, this is clearly a war on consumers, right? And that's what all these different decisions in the sabotage of the ACA is all about. And since they failed to repeal it and replace it with something even more right-wing, that's why we're seeing this sabotage. Now, what's the effect of that sabotage? Well, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services issued a report demonstrating the effects and the higher premiums it has created. Just last week, there's been lower enrollment, especially among those who earn too much to qualify for subsidies, which, look, is a lot of people in that hole. Now, in addition to the cuts in enrollment assistance and advertising for the sign-up periods, President Trump has also cut two important funding streams for health insurance companies. Now, if you do that, you're going to end up with these insurance companies going, okay, here's what I'm going to do. If you stop giving me money, then I'm just going to raise premiums on everybody to make up for it because we've got to make a profit. Well, that is one of the biggest faults with our healthcare system is that you've turned it into a for-profit venture, which it should not be. Now, the previous decision cut off billions in payments owed to insurers, resulted in significant premium increases for the year, and the latest one could do the same. Congress this year also repealed the tax penalties associated with the individual mandate that most people obtain health coverage, effectively ending the mandate and removing a key incentive for less expensive healthy consumers to pay into the insurance system. What that does is that ends up creating what we call a death spiral in insurance companies. So what you have is, look, when you have healthy people that no longer have to pay a penalty, they end up leaving. They're like, fuck that. I don't need health insurance. I don't have to pay a penalty. I don't need health insurance. I'm going to get out of the system. I'm going to save my money. But that leaves people who are sick, who need insurance, who have pre-existing conditions. That leaves them to absorb the higher costs. Pretty much all you have left in that system after a while is just basically sick people who are paying extremely high costs to be able to pay for the insurance with giantly high deductibles and basically it gets to a point of where it just falls apart. And that's what's going on. So, and that's exactly what the Trump administration was hoping for, because they want to tank the ACA. Now, that strategy, I do think, will backfire, and here's why. According to the HuffPost YouGov poll conducted back in May, a majority of Americans said healthcare was a top issue when it comes to the midterm elections. Well, 30% of voters picked healthcare. That's the most important, compared to 25% who each said guns and immigration, as well as 24% who said the economy. So, healthcare, the most important issue in the midterm elections. So I actually have something that the Democrats should do. I think the Democrats should run on Medicare for all. Now, we've seen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez run on strong, bold, progressive platform and actually win. She beat an entrenched incumbent, and of course, she's expected to easily win her general election, which means she should go into the House. So the lesson there is that, oh no, the Bronx is really weird and too white and progressive. It'll never work in the Midwest. But it will work in the Midwest. Tammy Duckworth is absolutely wrong when she says progressive ideas will not win in the Midwest. They absolutely will, because it turns out people in the Midwest also like healthcare. They don't want to deal with insurance companies. Nobody wants to deal with an insurance company. In fact, everybody knows that the insurance companies work against you. Their whole profit motive is or I should say, their whole profit model is based on denying as many claims and charging as much for premiums as legally allowed and as the market will bear. They do that because so they can line their pockets. People do not like dealing with them. So if you're to run on Medicare for all, which is an excellent system, which would save $17 trillion per year, according to some studies, compared to our current system, it saves money. It covers everybody. The expanded version from Bernie Sanders, of course, covers things like dental and vision and things that regular Medicare right now does not cover, and does so cheaper and does so better. It's time to move for Medicare for all. So Democrats, pay attention. It's polling at over 60%. Bold progressive visions win elections. Because as the ACA will continue to fall apart due to Trump's sabotage, you're going to need to have a better plan ready to make healthcare affordable. And that plan is Medicare for all. It's already there. It's already been introduced. People are already talking about it. There's already positive polling about it. Just come out and say it and mean it. I'm in there for Medicare for all. Let's go for Medicare for all. You elect us. That's exactly what we're going to do. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.